So before we get going on the Cavs, new podcast in the description, looking back on Dwayne Wade's career, since this will be his last season, and then anticipating Kanye and Lil Wayne's new albums. Of course, Wayne's album is now out, still waiting on Kanye's, but yeah, that's there. And now let's talk about the Cavaliers. In light of Tristan Thompson saying that the Cavs are still the 4-time Eastern Conference champion, could they actually make the playoffs? I know that the big thing to talk about with the Cavs is why are they even bothering trying to be as good as possible, and they should build for the future, and they should play Chetty Osman and trade their veterans for picks and all that. I mean, I get that. But like I said before, I think with Kevin Love now, you can have him prove to everybody else that he's really good, and then you could probably trade him for some stuff while at least having him make you somewhat respectable right now. So anyway, could they get into the postseason this year? Well, I think there are probably 4 teams in the East that are definitely better than them. Those 4 being, the Celtics, Raptors, Sixers, and Bucks. And then after that, I think the Eastern Conference is really interesting between the Pacers, the Hornets, the Wizards, the Pistons. Should also mention the Miami Heat as well. Their roster is pretty weird, but still a talented group nonetheless, with a really good coach in Spoelstra. And I guess you could throw the Cavaliers into that mix as well, thinking the moment that Charlotte gets an injury, they always fall off the train. The Blake thing in Detroit, it wasn't bad. It actually started off pretty okay. But I think eventually Drummond not being able to do what he was doing so well before Blake got there, which was being more of a passer, on top of just that team's lack of perimeter talent catching up to them. You've got the Wizards who are ready to implode at any moment, on top of what are they going to do defensively. You also look at the Pacers, where they had a lot of games last year that were decided by within 5 points. Some wins, some losses. There's a chance that could trend a little more towards the negative if the team doesn't have a big improvement. And I mean, Oladipo could make another jump. Miles Turner, I'm always going nuts about his potential. Sabonis could get better. I get it, but at the same time, I don't think it's a lock, because we're still waiting for Miles Turner to take that jump, and he really hasn't. And I don't know. There's a chance the Pacers could be better, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were about the same. But still, there's uncertainty in the East nonetheless, right? And then you look at Cleveland. First thing you got to look at is Kevin Love. We assume that Love is going to be better because he's going to have actual attempts now, and even as the Cavs were not giving him the ball as much, and they were just giving him his token post-ups, which would be 2 or 3 a game, which were always really funny because it's okay, it's your turn, impress us please. He was still pretty decent. He was in the 79th percentile of post-up players this year, whether it be through backing guys down or taking that mid-range jumper he'll take, which is basically just a face-up shot off the backboard. But K-Love also has enough ability to go off a one dribble, overpower his guy, shoot some weird hook shot over him, kind of like Blake Griffin, but nowhere near as athletic. And then you extend that out to the three-point line. You can kind of run almost any play for Kevin Love, and it can be pretty successful. So do I think he could average over 20 points a game this year for them? Yeah, probably. If nothing more than just someone's got to shoot the ball on this team. But he is decently talented as well. Now, one flip side is he doesn't have LeBron to make plays for him anymore, so Love is going to have to work for it a little bit more. But I do think he can be a decent source of offense for these guys. I think next we can go to is his front court mate, Tristan Thompson. I mean, if Tristan is actually good, which he showed flashes of in the playoffs, and he can be that guy who was huge for them in the series against the Warriors, then that would be awesome, because that can be a guy who can defend the pick and roll and be a real force on the offensive glass, which he's kind of been as he's declined. He's at least been able to grab rebounds. But then if you have him and Kevin Love just kind of dominating the offensive glass, then that's going to create extra possessions for this team, which I think they desperately need, because the only guy here who can create his own offense, it might be Colin Sexton. I mean, you'd like it to be Rodney Hood, And when I mean create, I mean on the perimeter. Of course, Kevin Love can create a bit, but yeah, if Rodney Hood is not going to be that 15 points per game scorer that he was with the Jazz, then Colin Sexton's going to have to do a lot for this team. And I like his potential, but asking a rookie to create offense for veterans, I mean, I know we just saw it with Donovan Mitchell and Ben Simmons, but that is not the norm, okay? And I would not be surprised if they asked Sexton to do a little too much for his rookie season and it ends up hurting these guys. But at the same time, maybe Colin's legit and maybe he's able to go off the dribble right now and get into the teeth of the defense and create easy opportunities for Kyle Korver, J.R. Smith, and alley-oops for Tristan Thompson and anything for Kevin Love. If he's not able to do that at all, then I think it's going to be really tough for them to score enough points to actually get into the postseason. But if he's able to just be okay at it, like maybe he sucks at it day one, but he's pretty okay by like game 40, then perhaps that could be enough. Should be said, this team does still have a decent amount of shooting between George Hill, Kyle Korver, J.R. Smith, Rodney Hood, Kevin Love. I think Chetty Osman's got a chance to be an outside shooter, so the spacing should at least be pretty okay. That's a thing. The problem is they lost LeBron, of course. The other thing is we got to look at Ty Lue. We're going to find out now if Ty Lue has actually like got some X's and O's to him, because when you have LeBron, you can't run too dynamic of offense because it's typically not going to be as good as just give the ball to LeBron. But now he's going to have to create stuff because none of these guys are going to just do whatever you want in order to win, right? Like the cuts have to be precise, the off-ball screens. You're going to need some timely shooting. I'm sure we're going to see Kyle Korver flying around the floor with his signature handoff three-pointers that look like they're never going in, but then they drop right through. I think this is where we could see a revitalization of Rodney Hood, because he needs the ball. He can't just stand off the ball and do nothing and then the ball just gets to him and then he shoots like 6 threes a game. He's not that kind of player. Like he's about pull-ups and floaters and weird turnaround jumpers. So it kind of makes sense that he didn't fit in well with LeBron, but in this setting where he's going to get more opportunities, I think we could see him take off, and they're going to need that. And if Ty Lue wants to run actual offense, then that would help Rodney out as well. I guess another thing is the nobody believes in us factor. This team might just have a lot of pride, and maybe every single guy on this roster is like 10% more in shape than they would be if LeBron was still here. That's got to count for something, right? Again, this is the Eastern Conference, so if this team stays healthy, if everyone is in shape, and if Kevin Love is able to get back to somewhat Minnesota Kevin Love, then, maybe it could happen, okay? Like I said before, I think there's a decent amount of teams in the East where it could go well, it could not go well. I'll put these guys in that category. But when you just have a bunch of that, there is a chance that something weird will happen, and maybe that weird thing is that the Cavaliers win 41 games and they get the 6th seed in the East, and then they lose to whoever is the 3 seed in round 1. It's a possibility, okay? So, yeah. If I had to bet, I would say no. I think some other teams are just a little more talented, better rosters top to bottom. In the case of a team like the Miami Heat, Eric Spoelstra is a better coach than Ty Lue. But still, you got to play out the season, so we'll see what happens. Once again, new podcast. Dwayne Wade's career, Lil Wayne and Kanye West. And that's it.